Hey guys, this is Yesca Cristal coming back on the podcast. And if you haven't been here before, if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Yesca Cristal. As you can hear my intro, it says Crystal on there. That is my middle name, so sometimes I may say Yesca or Cristal, doesn't matter. But anyway, so that's to put that confusion aside. Welcome to my podcast, and I'm happy to be here. It's been a little while since I've recorded a legitimate podcast. I had my daughter for the summer, and then I was taking like a little hiatus, or however you say that, just kind of filling myself out and seeing what I really wanted to do, and just really take some time to reflect and not be doing all the time. I finished my album back in, I believe, May. And after that, I felt like I just needed a little time to reset and some quality time with my daughter when I'm, wasn't at work. And now, I am pregnant as of April, so your girl been extra tired. So just know that I'm here, and know that this means something to me, because I'm not forcing myself, but I really have to gather my bearings to do anything else other than work and try to stay alive. Aside from like the errands, appointments, things like that. We're in the middle of searching for a rental in the mountains. So we've been going on my days off to look at houses, all that stuff. So anyway, I'm still happy to be here. Welcome. If you end up liking this show, please give me a rating, share with a friend, scroll through my episodes. I have over 40 episodes, I believe. Today, I had my ultrasound for my baby, and we finally got to see her. For one reason or another, we hadn't gotten our ultrasound, and I don't know, it just worked out that way. I was really anxious to see her, make sure she was okay, but at our appointments, our heartbeat's strong, and then today just confirmed like her heart's doing well, like everything looked good. So all we had was good news from our appointment today. I only got the 2D pictures, but I'm still very happy. I really hope we get the 3D pictures. But overall, just really happy that she's, the right weight. She's, everything's looking good, and that's the most, like, that's what I'm worried about the most. And I feel a peace of mind. She moves a lot. So that's my update in that area right now. Today, I wanted to talk about something. I had two other topics in mind, which one of them is going to be attachment styles. I put on my Instagram regarding like what kind of topic I should talk about. And I'm still doing those two, which are the attachment styles. And then somebody also posted about procrastinating as a creator as you get older. Do you lose the passion, or something along the lines? So I'm going to be doing episodes on both of those topics. However, I've been feeling the call to talk about this certain topic I'm talking about today, and I'm like, you know what, I just need to get it off my chest so it frees up space in my mind, in my aura, whatever you want to call it. And the attachment styles, I will be reading up on that, so I feel like I can come forward with a more knowledgeable opinion perspective. While I have been applying it to my current relationship, I am not super savvy on that, so I definitely want to bring, glean some more information. So what I bring forth is coming, from a source of being educated, I guess, if you will. Whatever that means. And then the other one, of course, I will get to it as a creator, of course. Hello, I'm here on podcasting, and if most of you guys know, I do music, I rap, and I sing. So I definitely am a creator in every shape and form, and I definitely have 2 cents to say about that. Anyway, so moving on, today I want to talk about something very heavy. It's regarding like carrying shame or guilt, and as a parent, as a person who's made a mistake, or made mistakes in the past. And what really prompted me and really kind of led me in this direction to want to talk about it is I saw this girl on TikTok, and I don't recall her exact name, but I think it's like Avia, Life as Avia or something like that. I don't remember her name, but I give her so much props because she just like essentially outed herself. Let me give you some context. So her TikTok literally started off like, hey, no, I don't hear anybody talking about this, so I'll be the first to say it. And then she just stated how she was that mom that, gave her kid to her baby dad. And now she has her baby or her kid on the weekends, but she was just not that mom. She wasn't ready and this and this and that. And I was like, whoa, my heart's racing right now because I know I'm going to talk about this stuff. And I was like, wow, like you're real. And like she has a pretty decent following. So I was like, that was very brave of her to just put herself out there, because nowadays people are so quick to cancel people or like out them. I don't know how else to put it, but it takes courage, believe it or not, to own up to something like that, because especially as women, we are like, we are seen like we're supposed to have it all together, or being the better person or better parent or making the better choices, but in reality, like we're also figuring shit out, and we also make mistakes, and we also have our fair share of like, whether it's traumas, conditioning that we have to work through, and that really dictates on how we're able to parent and how we parent and so on and so forth. So I commend her. Oh my God, I just like, it was like a sign from the times from my great grandma. She's like, my spirit guide, whatever. But yeah, I was like, no, this is literally the confirmation I needed, because for the past year or even more, I've been like on the fence about sharing some deep and personal things, which I share a lot, but these are like very touchy things, especially things that have to do with my kids, because I have had a lot of shame and carried so much guilt throughout my years because of the mistakes I've made. And I'm like, you know what, I like I've said, and I say to people when I speak to them, is like, I feel like now, I'm almost 35, and I think everything that I've learned, everything that I've gone through really heavy shit, and I feel like it's for a reason. Instead of complaining and whatnot, I'm like, you know what, there's a reason why I went through that, and there's a reason why I came out on the other side. There's a reason why I feel called to share what I've learned and how I've bettered myself, because I feel like there are so many people, well, I may not know personally, maybe it feels like we're alone or I'm alone in this. I know there's somebody out there that needs to hear what I have to say, or how to get help, or maybe it helps click something in their brain where they're like, oh shit, just like I've had that. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and that's been my main way, or in reading self-help books has been one of the main ways that I've been able to think outside of the box and outside of what I know as far as relationship dynamics, familial dynamics, generational trauma, all that. As soon as I dipped my toes, like, there was no going back. I'm like, there is a different way. I'm like, I need to figure this out. I need to learn everything I can so I can be a better person, a better mom, and not repeat dynamics like that, and be the best I can be, And so I'm not religious, as most of you guys know, but I do like this line from the Bible that goes along like, he who cast the first stone, let him be without sin, or something like that. I don't know what fucking book it is or what verse, but excuse me, but I do know that I really, really like that one. I've always liked that one, and it really resonates. Even when I want to be judgmental, not want to be, but like it comes on naturally, I feel like, as humans, but it's so true. It's like maybe all our sins look different and our struggles look different, and we're quick to judge and be like, oh, like, why would they do that? How could they do that? Or this and this and that. And so with a particular thing that I did, it's very scary. Nerve-wracking, not scary. But so what happened is when I was 19 years old, I was that mom. I had my daughter. I don't remember how many months she was, but I was in a very toxic relationship, and I didn't really have anybody around me or love as far as a community. So my headspace I wasn't all there, to be honest. And one time I went to the store and I had a list of groceries, and I'll give you guys a context right now, but let me give you the short story first. I went for groceries. I went inside, and lo and behold, this cop comes up to me. I wasn't even there like 5 minutes. I literally just walked in, grabbed the cart, and something fell off, but I didn't know what it was off. You know, a cop comes up to me, or security guard, I don't know who the fuck. Anyway, he's like, hey, do you drive a blah 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 blah? And then as soon as he said that, like, he didn't even have to say what it was. I was like, oh my god. I was like, yes. And then guess what happened? Like, I had left my daughter in the car and with the windows up. Thankfully, it was a cloudy day. It was evening and she hadn't been there long. It was a warm day, but yeah, we go outside and I start freaking out. Essentially, I start crying. I was like, oh my god. And he's like, yeah. And then he's just like following me to the car, and I just break down. I open the door, and he calls in like a sheriff or something. But my daughter was asleep. Again, I had only been in the store like less than a minute. And yeah, so we wait for the sheriff while I'm on the side of they had me sit down on the curb, little parking sidewalk thing. And this lady comes, talks to me, and then she's just like, yeah, like, what's going on? And I was crying. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I forgot. Like, I don't know how I forgot, but I forgot. And it was so surreal. Like, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, who am I? Like, how could I? And so she, bless her soul, like, she's like, you know what, she saw me break down and she was like talking me through it. I don't remember how long the conversation was. It happened a long time ago, but she could tell, like, she was one of those good people, and she's just like, I could, report this to CPS, and that's not going to be good for you, but I can feel like you're genuinely sorry, and I feel like you're not okay. And like, just a stranger, you know what I mean? And lo and behold, oh, this is kind of hard to talk about, but lo and behold, I was not okay. And I'm thankful for her for not doing that. And yeah, for having a heart and being able to sense above of what I had done, somebody else, like, if it had been somebody else, like, it would have been like, maybe like, how could you, I'm calling CPS right now, you need to get help, or blah 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 blah, you know what I mean? Like, anybody else could have done that. But she's like, I can tell, like, you feel bad about this, but I can tell that you're not okay. If there's like, what's going on. And at that time, like, I didn't open my mouth. Like, I kept everything in. I didn't speak about how I felt or how I was treated by my kid's dad. I just don't know. I never felt like anybody would listen, or like, if maybe I was the problem, I guess, my thinking was so skewed. But essentially, she just said that. She's like, hey, here's a number. I think it was like some therapist or some hotline or something. She's like, call that number. Like, if you need to get help, like, get help. You know, you need to be okay for your baby. And with that, with that being said, kind of funny but not funny, but I ended up having a warrant because I had a no seatbelt ticket or something like that, and I hadn't gone to court. So my ass went to jail, not because of the baby, because I had a warrant, obviously, legalities. I went to jail for the weekend, and so I had to call the only people I could call, which was my ex's family. So they picked up my daughter, and honestly, I don't even remember what they told me, but I felt so bad. If I hadn't had the warrant, they wouldn't have been called. I don't know if I would have said something. I probably would. I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm like, it worked out that way for a reason. They also definitely, they mentioned it to my daughter growing up that I had left her in the car. And they've thrown it in my face that I've thrown in her, that I left her in the car. And it's like it's a painful memory, and definitely they know what they were doing when they, well, especially, anyway, what they were doing when they brought that up. Of course, it was to make me feel shameful and guilty and to hurt me with that memory, and me working on bettering myself as a mother, like hearing that, I'm like, fuck, like, am I, like, can I even call myself a mother? I don't deserve that title. And for many years, I felt like that. And then, yeah, they, to add the cherry on top, they ended up telling my daughter and my son, my older kids, that I had left her in the car when I went to go party. I'm like, bro, if you know me, like, I'll own up to my mistakes. I'm not one to, like, I'm not gonna tell you a lie, pretty much. But it's just like, you already know what you're doing with telling my kids that, and then let alone tell them that it was while I was partying. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely had drink around my kids, but that was never the case. So, whatever. I even recently told my son, because he's like, oh, this is what they told him. Like, oh, so that's what you guys have been told, and that's what you believe this whole, like, after years, I'm barely finding out that was how they portrayed the story. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Whatever. To the BS. So, and then the context. So that was the story, right? And I feared sharing that so many times. And because, like, over the years, I've seen people, like, you see random videos of somebody leaving their kid in the car, and your first instinct is like, oh my God, how could they do that? Or how could they forget their child? They don't deserve to be parents. They deserve to die. And, over the years, seeing similar situations, and while some people really did intentionally leave their kids in the car, it was still like, it still made me feel a type of way. Like, I remember I even lashed a client that said that. She's like, oh yeah, fucking pieces of shit, and like, they deserve to die, and fucking blah 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 blah. And she's like a really protective person when it comes to defending, and so I know it was coming from a good place. And I was so tempted to tell her my story, but I was so scared because I felt guilt tripped. I feel like all these years I've just been like holding it in, and I've just been wanting to let it out, to come clean, even though I don't owe anybody an explanation. But I'm like, no, like, it's not that black and white, and no, they don't all deserve to die. And yeah, maybe they shouldn't have kids, but the reality is, fucking life is life. I had kids at 17 and 19, and I definitely had my fair share of fuck ups. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I never helped with my siblings. I did not like kids, as a matter of fact, until I had my own. And yeah, and like, until recently, like the recent years, I've been more compassionate with myself. I'm like instead of just thinking I was a piece of shit, like I'm like, you know what? I was going through a lot. And I'm not saying it's to excuse whatever happened, or, I'm just thankful that nothing worse happened. But also, like, how we want to see a better world, but we lack the compassion to people or even to ourselves, At that time when I left my daughter in the car, I wasn't okay. Like I said, I was 19 years old, and I want to paint a picture. My kid's dad, he made a damn good job of alienating me from essentially everyone. We had broken up after our son was some months old because of him treating me the way he treated me. And then he told me he was going to change, and of course, he never did. And context, like, I was, sexually abused when I was a little girl, and my stepdad, was also like physically abusive. Like, he was heavy-handed with us and my mom and my siblings. And he knew that. My kid's dad knew that. And he told me when we got into a relationship, like, he would protect me, that he would keep me safe, that he would, like, I don't know, like, he just had so much love. And when we got together, it was a different story. And then he would just threaten me, like, oh, do you want me to be like your stepdad? And I know it doesn't seem like that bad of a thing, but when you think of a young girl hearing that, and what the subconscious, like, does essentially, like, bring up the abuse, like, do you want me to be like your stepdad when you're yelling in my face or you're pinning me against the wall? Like, that's scary. Even if he technically didn't hit me but he didn't really hit me. He did put his hand on me once, but that's how he spoke to me. I had to do every single chore of the house every single day. He did not like leftovers, so it had to be like fresh meals all the time. And anytime, like, I made a mistake, he was just so quick to criticize. And he would always call me names, like, pretty much on a daily basis for years of my life being together as a young lady, as a young mom, was, you're trash, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're no good mom, you're white trash mom, you're so trashy, why are you so trashy, you don't deserve to be loved. And it was years of this conditioning, and then not being able to see my family, because he would fight with me if I wanted to have my family over. I opted out because I'm like, I don't even want to fight. I don't want to fight. Even if I want to see my mom, I want to see my sisters. It was just another reason for him to, quote unquote, attack me, right? And so usually if they came over, which they didn't come over a lot, but once in a blue moon, they would be there, like, the tiniest bit. If he was there, it was a rare thing, because they also didn't like how he was and how he behaved. Like, he just made things really uncomfortable for my family to be there. And so the few times that they would come see me, obviously they had to make sure that he wasn't there. So it was like a quick visit, like a quick 15-minute, 20-minute visit. Because he just randomly, like, left work early or left school early or whatever. And back then you didn't have, like, the whole GPS location shit like you do now, right? So there was no way of knowing when he was just gonna pop out, and I was scared. I'm like, okay, only if I was like 1,000% sure that my family was gonna be there, I'd be like, okay. And so my mom would come and see me and bring my siblings, and it was beautiful, and it was like pockets of sunshine. And my mom, even though she was going through her own shit, like, she saw how bad I was, and she would tell me, she's like, you don't, like, are you okay? You don't look okay. You're so pale. You look so sad. And you know, and it's like, she would give me even little booklets of information on how to get help, or like to talk about how to help yourself when you're in this and this type of relationship, just random little things. And I would look at them, and you know, it's funny because I would even think, I'm like I don't need this. I'm like, sometimes I was like, oh, what the heck, like I don't think like I'm in a bad relationship. Yeah, things are not always great, but like I think I'm okay. I you know, I really did. I thought I was okay, and I really fucking wasn't. I wasn't. I was, my reality was so skewed. But, you know, again, so I was alienated, I was verbally abused, I was emotionally abused, with like the threats of him being like my stepdad, and that scaring me and hurting my inner child and bringing up those wounds that were very traumatic. And then like the final straw was when he actually put his hands on me. And I remember I was painting my son's room, because I painted our whole house, and I was in the middle of painting his closet, like Angry Birds and stuff. Fun fact, I'm a really good like drawer and painter if I have something to go off. But anyway, so I was doing that, and that day particularly, Harlem, my son, was being a handful, like a big handful. And then my daughter was being fuzzy as well that day, so I didn't get much done other than the chores. So I'd done the chores and I had food ready. Excuse me. But when he got home, he was expecting the whole closet to be painted, right? But I had put the basket of stuff that was, anyway, I had put a basket on, like with socks and little thing, odds and ends, on the very top of the closet, so I could have access to the lower part of the closet to paint it. But I hadn't finished it. So he got home, first thing he does is like he walks in, because I was playing with the kiddos in the room, and he walks in and he looks like, what, like, you're not done with this? Like, what the fuck were you doing all day? And I was like, oh, it was like I was cleaning, and then Harlem, blah blah blah, this and Diamond, like, it's been a rough day. And he just started with his, you know, calling me names, and he grabs the basket of things that were on top of the closet, and he just tosses everything onto the ground. And it triggered me. I was like, inside, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I started picking up the stuff, and I'm like, what? Like, it just clicked something in me. I'm like, why in the hell is he doing that? I'm like, no, like. And then at that moment, I went to his room, his hangout spots where he smoked, where he kicked it and had his magazines and all this and that. So he had a rack of magazines. It was a double XL. It was about like rappers and models and things like that. And I know he cherished his magazines. So I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, why would you do that? So I go in his room, and I don't even like fuck up anything. I just literally tilt the stack of magazines so they go sliding down. And he rushes into the room, and he sees, and then he grabs me by my hair, and he yanks me and then throws me across like the closet, like, to the ground. And I was shocked. I was really shocked, and I started crying. I did not know what to do, and it was blurry after that. But essentially, I had like a 3-inch by 1.5-inch bruise on my upper arm that I had to hide for a while. But at that moment, again, something clicked, and I was like, that was the last straw. I was like, I didn't know I was getting verbally abused or emotionally abused or gaslit or manipulated. I didn't know any of that stuff. I didn't know what that meant. I thought it was in a decent relationship, and I just had to put up with it, you know? And that was the moment I'm like, no. Like, I grew up watching my mom get hit. I grew up getting hit as well, and my siblings, and I remember like crying, and I remember anytime my stepdad would hit my mom, like, you know, the older siblings, which is my older sister Nadia and I, were a year apart, and we would just grab whatever we could. Like, we would grab pots and pans, and we would scratch at him, and like, to try to stop it, you know? And so those memories, I'm like, no, like, this is not what I want. And I don't want my kids to see this. And so I spoke to his mom and dad. They came over, and his mom didn't really say much, to be honest. She never approved of me, and she reminded me through all of my years knowing her, pretty much, especially when we're broken up and afterward. So she didn't really say much, but his dad, bless his heart, he's the only one that ever really spoke up and had any kind of reasoning. But he told him, he's like, we do not hit women. And yeah, he just gave him a piece of his mind, and he's like, if you ever put a hand on her again, I'll beat your ass myself. I'll whoop your ass. Do you hear me? And do you understand? And he said, yeah, basically, you know. And at that point, like, obviously, like, I didn't have the heart to break up with him. It was a lot of emotions, but essentially, all this that you're hearing, this is the reality I was living. This is the color my world was. This is what's going on when I left my daughter in the car. It wasn't somebody that was mentally healthy. It wasn't somebody that had love or a community or felt like she could speak up, because abuse had been all she had known, and you don't talk about it, and you stay quiet about things like that, and you don't, you know what I mean? And so it's not, again, not to excuse any type of behavior, but it's to show that more often than not, people that, like, when we make mistakes, it's not because, especially as parents, it's not because we want to, and it's hard, you know. I've forgiven myself. It's taken a lot to forgive myself, but that was my life at that time, at 19 years old. And I just wanted to share that because, yeah, I think a lot of us carry a lot of shame and guilt, and we don't allow ourselves, like, joy or forgiveness even to ourselves. And it's such a key part in being able to move on and being able to be happy and at peace and receive love, accept love. And it's coming to terms with things like that, like, hey, I fucked up. Hey, I did this, but I'm still lovable. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to heal. And so that's why my mission has been so, like, since I woke to a new world of healing, of meditation, of my spirituality, it's been such a passion of mine, because I look at myself now and I'm like, I can tell myself now that I'm like, I'm a good mom. I am a good mom, and I do so good, and I am very, you know, I listen to my child. I mostly have my 9-year-old just for reference. My 2 older ones, they live in Idaho, and my daughter my youngest I get for the summer, but she is a very loved child. She's heard, she's seen, anytime I am being catty, or it's like I am reacting from a place of being like overstimulated or something, I ask her for forgiveness. I apologize. So she's gotten such a better version than my two older kids, and such a much better environment. And I'm proud of that. And obviously it takes conscious choice, but it takes also compassion with oneself. In order, you have to really look at this shit, you know? And also, like, seeing other people, having compassion with them, and not being so quick to, like, I guess, yeah, deserve to, like, they deserve to die, or deserve to this, or you know what I mean? Like, I know it's not easy, especially if you haven't been in their shoes, or been in their situation, or you know, whatever. But it's so important to reach out, and you see people that are struggling, like, whatever we can do is like to help. And my way is like, if I can reach anybody with this message, and to not feel alone, and know there's a way out, like, that's always my thing. I'm like, when you know better, you do better. And the more I learned, the more I put into practice, the better I do. And it feels so good. And it's so hard breaking, like, some of these chains, some of these patterns, you know. And thankfully, like, other than, like, I definitely was an alcoholic being a young mom. So shit, like, when we broke up, I was crazy. Like, that was my escape, right? But I know that even though I didn't have the tools, or the community, or the knowledge, whatever, to support any type of growth, I knew at the back of my mind, and I always said, like, I will never be like my mom. I will never be like my stepdad. I'm not gonna, like, you know, I'm never gonna be like that with my kids. And while I wasn't like that with my kids, yes, I made some mistakes, but I definitely, even then, as a broken girl, like, I made it a conscious effort, like, not to yell, and things like that, you know what I mean? Because it is important. And yeah, overall, I feel like this story is just kind of helping me. I wanted to share it on TikTok, but I felt like it was just too personal, and I wanted to really elaborate on everything. And I felt like my podcast was like the perfect space for that, right? And it's just me, the camera, the mic, and for those who choose to listen to, this is what it is. And if you hate me, if you still support me, that whatever is great. Overall, the message I want to say on here is just compassion, and also to reiterate the importance of fucking learning things, learning different ways, being open-minded to doing things differently. If you have kids, you know, take a look at them and let that be your anchor. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, or why does this keep happening to me, or I've made a mistake, I don't know what to do. Like, at least let that be an anchor. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know, but let me find out, or let me get better. For them, let me find help, let me ask for help, let me speak up, even though I'm scared, even though I might face backlash from my partner, or from my family, or from whatever situation. Like, get help in whatever way you can, and learn as much as you can, and find ways to regulate yourself so you are able to see clearly, think clearly. Because like I mentioned earlier, when my mom handed me those little booklets with information about, like, abuse and getting help and this and that, I was like, I almost scoffed. I'm pretty sure I scoffed a couple times. I'm like, you know, not to my mom's face, but in my, you know, inside my mind, I was like, what is going on, lady? Like, we got it here. And I really thought that things were okay when I was literally shattered in pieces. I had no support, and it was like I had no idea I needed help. So I pray for everyone that doesn't even realize they're in that kind of situation. If you know somebody in that situation, like, the first thing is not to be judgmental, but show them love. Show them the contrast of what is good versus what they're dealing with. Because most often than not, like, when we're in that kind of space, we're like, oh, I think it's okay or whatever. But just show them a different way. I feel like by telling people, most of the time we don't listen or we don't understand. But if we feel that love, feel that connection, feel like our community, or you know, I don't know, just find ways, I guess. But that is what I wanted to share on this podcast. And I definitely will be sharing more regarding some just personal experiences. Probably, I feel like it's the year. I don't know if it's because I'm pregnant, but over the last month, or no, actually over the last couple of weeks per se, I've just been feeling this need to alchemize some wounds, and also just really walk that talk as far as like compassion and not being judgmental, and offering like being peaceful. Obviously, like, nobody's gonna fuck with my family or like my kids, and I'm not gonna just sit by, whatever. But as far as like, if somebody comes at me wrong and they want to make amends, or I see something that I'm not happy with, like, not just coming at it with like attitude, but like, hey, like, what's behind this situation, what's behind this person, instead of immediately rejecting the ideas or people. I'm like, and it's some of the hardest work. I feel like I've done a lot of work for myself, and I've put a lot into action, and still doing the work. And now the next level is, for me personally, I feel, is extending that hand when I don't feel like it, and when I may not understand other people. But again, sometimes what we need to do is be more forgiving and more understanding, and not condoning more of whatever the issue is, and not excusing, or not saying that there shouldn't be repercussions or consequences. Not at all. Not whatsoever. But being more curious more than anything, and wanting peace and love for everyone more than anything. So that is my message for you guys today, and also for me to let it off my chest. Yeah, it's a funny time because I'm gonna have another baby, and I'm like, I just feel weird sharing this, because I'm like, what if people start telling me like shit about being a mom? But I'm like, no, I'm past that. Like, I'm good. I'm real good. Again, if you found anything useful from this podcast, helped you, or you feel like it could help a friend, a family member, whoever, feel free to share, and feel free to look through my other episodes. With that being said, guys, take lots of deep breaths, go get yourself some nature, and hug your family and friends. And I will see you on the next one.